is McCall Searles, and I am a career advisor here at WGU. Welcome to our workshop on gaining experience. Today we're going to chat with you all about lots of different ways that you can gain hands-on experience related to your career goal. So things like online simulations, volunteering, study abroad, all the different types of experiential learning. Addison and I wanted to share to kind of start everybody off just some types of experience learning that we both participated in at various points in our careers. And as an undergrad and grad student, I did volunteering. I had an internship. I did my graduate school in counseling, and so I did a counseling internship. I also studied abroad and did undergraduate research. So those are just a few of the types of experiential learning that I engaged in, and I am going to pass it off to Addison to introduce herself and share her experiential learning.
Well, thank you, McCall. My name is Addison Welsh. I'm the Internships and Experiential Learning Manager. I always forget to introduce myself. And in terms of just different ways to gain experience, I did a lot of things, when I was in school. But right now, I've actually been volunteering recently, both with the city government as well as a group that helps veterans transition out of the military. And I think volunteering has really reminded me just of how important that opportunity is and what you can gain from it, the network connections that you can make. And so we're going to chat more about that, but I have really, really enjoyed being a part of both of those different opportunities. So
awesome. And we wanted to hear from you all as we kind of move through the beginning parts of this presentation. Feel free to pop in the chat if you are doing any kind of experiential learning right now. So maybe you are volunteering, maybe you've done a micro internship, or you've tried out some of the forage simulations that we're going to talk about today. But go ahead and pop in the chat if you have previously or are currently doing any type of experiential learning. And as you are doing that, I'm just going to go through a few housekeeping items here. So this is being recorded. It'll be sent to you within 48 hours. So if you please feel free to take care of your own needs, get up, step away from your computer, have a stretch if you need to, and know that this is being recorded and will be sent to you. You can always email our careers email address if you have any questions that you want addressed outside of the workshop. And then during the workshop, if you have questions come up, please use the chat to share those, and we will make sure to try to get to those as much as we can. We will also be dropping some links for you all in the chat too. So keep an eye out there. Just a quick overview of today's presentation. We are going to look at WGU's 7 career milestones very briefly so that you can get an idea of the different career resources that we have to offer you here at WGU and beyond. We are, of course, going to do a quick overview of experiential learning, discuss the different types of experiential learning opportunities so that you can get a better understanding of which types might make the most sense for you, given your current situation, your career goal, so on and so forth. And then we will go through a few resources throughout the presentation as well that will support your experiential learning. And then, as I mentioned, if you have any questions, we'll try to leave some time at the end if it permits, but please feel free to pop those into the chat as we go, and we will try to get to those as quickly as we can. So first question that we have for you all is, in what career field would you like to get experience? So we would love to hear from everybody. What career are you targeting? What are you interested in? It's really kind of fun to see all the different backgrounds that people come from and all the different interest areas. So what career field are you hoping to gain some experience in? Go ahead and throw that in the chat. And we'll give you all a few minutes to share, since sometimes it can take a second to figure it out. Software engineering, environmental data analytics. So some few folks interested in tech. Hard when today's world requires you to select a major before testing the waters. That's a really interesting point that you bring up, Gabrielle, because I think something that Addison and I talk about a lot when it comes to experiential learning is giving you kind of that chance to test the waters and determine if a certain career path is going to be right for you. Especially, depending on your major, there could be other career paths that could be of interest to you later on. So that's a really good point to bring up. Project management. Other folks saying that they're trying to test out the waters. Accounting for me, data analytics. So kind of a blend of people here. It looks like a lot of business and tech, which is great. So feel free to keep dropping that into the chat, and hopefully today you all get some insights into different experience types that might work for you to explore some of these career areas. So with that, I just wanted to give a quick intro to the 7 career milestones that we have here at WGU, and thank you, Addison, for dropping a link in the chat. So if you all click that link at any point, it's going to take you to our CPD website where you are going to see all 7 of these career milestones. And if you click into any of them, it'll take you to a separate page with resources related to that milestone. So what are the career milestones? So these are kind of, we like to think of them as a roadmap to help you develop your career here at WGU. So they cover everything from setting a career goal, creating a career plan to reach that goal. We have workshops around that too. If anybody's ever interested, always check Handshake for any workshops related to those. Of course, today our focus is on experiential learning. So getting that hands-on experience that employers want to see. But the career milestones also will help you explore things like networking, building a resume and cover letter, starting to define your personal brand, all the way through to achieving your career goal and then assessing your career wellness to see if it's time to set a new goal, if it's time to do some professional development. So these milestones are really here to support you during your time at WGU as well as your time as an alumni. And as I said, there are resources associated with each of them. So say, for example, you wanted to pop in to set a career goal, you could click into career goal identified on the website, and that'll take you to a separate page with activities, links, resources related to defining that career goal for yourself. So these are here to support you. We are here to support you along the way as well. And as mentioned, we are going to be kind of talking through some of those experiential learning resources that we have to offer you too. So what is experiential learning? Experiential learning is also known as learning by doing. And so it's a chance for you to really bridge what you are learning in your courses with real world experiences and applications. It gives you the chance to, as many of you had mentioned in the chat, test the waters to see, is this really a career path that I'm interested in? What's it actually like in the day-to-day? It gives you a chance to build some tangible experience that you can showcase on a resume, that you can share in an interview with an employer. We know that employers love to see that hands-on experience where you're applying those skills and knowledge that you are acquiring through your coursework. And so this is a chance to do that. And then it also gives you a chance to reflect on your learning and just kind of do that in a real hands-on setting. And then you'll see here too, applying knowledge and building skills. So Addison and I will talk a little bit about some of the other career milestones and doing something that's called a gap analysis, where you can actually identify, what is your career goal? What are the skills that are required to get there? Which ones do you have and which ones do you still need? So experiential learning can help you fill the gaps that you still need to fill, the skills that you still need to acquire. And so it's a great chance to really make yourself a more competitive applicant for your career goal and start to build those skills that you might be missing. And there's lots of different ways to gain experience. You heard Addison and I share a few of the ways that we did both when we were in school and outside of school. And this is just a list of some of the offerings that are really popular here at WGU. And we'll be talking through these in more detail too. But things like online simulations, where maybe you are completing a project that would be similar to what you would do in that kind of role if you were hired. Volunteering, apprenticeships, internships, and micro internships. We have another workshop related to those 2 areas specifically. So always keep an eye out for that too if you want to learn more about internships and micro internships. Study abroad, and then there's other things like service learning, fellowships. There's lots of variety here. So we will go into more detail so that you can learn a little bit more about these different EL types and determine which one might be a strong fit for you. So with that being said, before kind of jumping into experiential learning in general, it is really helpful and important to understand a little bit more about what you hope to gain from the experience and what's going to work best for you given your personal circumstances. And so, the first thing we recommend that everybody do before they complete or start searching for experiential learning opportunities is to check out this preferences identifier worksheet that Addison dropped in the chat. And this is one of our milestone 3 resources. And what it's most useful for is really helping you figure out what is your career goal, what are the specific skills and experiences that you hope to achieve, and that you might need to fill through experiential learning so that you can have a more targeted search when you're going out there and you're searching for an internship or a simulation. You can make sure that it's targeting those skills that you actually need to fill for your career goal. And then it also is going to walk you through some questions related to your personal situation. So, like, what type of experiential learning is going to make the most sense for you, given your personal circumstances? Could you do a virtual opportunity? Are you able to do something that's in person? And I'm going to open the worksheet right now so that we can take a look at some of those questions that it walks you through, just so you all can get a better understanding of that. Okay, and I'll zoom in because I know that it's often difficult for folks to see when I have it on my desktop here. So let me know, feel free to pop in the chat if you need me to zoom in more. But this is the preferences identifier. So again, it's going to walk you through setting a career goal if you haven't already done that, completing a gap analysis so that you can figure out what skills and experience you still need and what you might want to fill with experiential learning. And then this is where I was talking through maybe some of the personal circumstances that you might want to be thoughtful of. So how much time can you dedicate to an opportunity? Are you seeking paid or are you open to unpaid opportunities if they offer valuable learning experiences related to your career goal? And then things like location and learning format. Are you open to travel? Would you like something that's more self-paced that you can complete on your own time? Or do you want a real-time experience where maybe you're collaborating with other folks? Just some different things to think about. And of course, that looks different based on your unique situation. So this is a worksheet that we highly recommend people at least take a look at and maybe even go through and put some of your responses in so that, again, you're moving forward with your experiential learning search in a very intentional way and you're finding opportunities that are going to be really beneficial to you and your career development. And thank you, Addison, for dropping that link in the chat. We will send these links in a follow-up email with the recording as well. So if you're not able to catch them, no worries. And I'm going to pass it over to Addison to talk through some of these different experiential learning opportunities.
Thank you so much, McCall, for that fabulous introduction. And so if you are curious about finding these opportunities, there's a lot of different places that you can look, and we will reference them as we go through each opportunity. However, one place that is a great one-stop shop, if you will, is the Experiences Marketplace that we have on the Career and Professional Development website. And so I've added that link just there in the chat if you want to go check it out. But it's really great because you can actually go through and filter, whether it's by internships or micro internships or volunteer opportunities. And so be sure to check that out. I also encourage you to check out as well the internship and experiential learning guide. We'll chat through that here in just a little bit, but it's a really comprehensive guide that has websites to a lot of different places that you can look to find these different opportunities. Next slide. And so one of these opportunities is volunteering. And so I'm sure that many of you are very familiar with volunteering, but what is it? You're going to be donating your time and efforts typically to something that maybe you want to contribute to a cause or a philanthropic reason, whatever it might be. It can be your community, it could be a school, a church, a nonprofit, but typically you're providing your time and support to help them as they achieve their mission. And so in terms of benefits, I often think that this is one area that is so overlooked in being able to gain experience because there are so many ways to gain opportunities and experience through volunteering. So it's a great way to gain experience in a certain area. And also if you want to focus in or hone in on a certain skill set, this is a great way to do it. And I'm going to walk you through a website here just in a minute to kind of show you if you're really wanting to focus on a certain skill set, how you can find opportunities that are specific to that. And so the other opportunity that's really, really great with volunteering, rather the benefit, is networking. I think you probably heard many of us talk about the value of having a professional network. And so do you mind going back the slide? Forgive me.
No, you're good. I think it jumped ahead. Sorry
Okay,
about
no
that.
worries. Yeah, so it's a mind of its own. That's how it goes. Yep. So networking is really, really important because you're going to be able to connect with people that maybe you previously wouldn't have connected with before. And maybe that results in them notifying you of a position that opens up that might meet your needs. Or maybe they want to be a referral for you for a position that opens up. We know that for the job search, it is absolutely essential to have those referrals. You are going to be much more successful in that search. And so this is a great opportunity to meet other people in your community or maybe the industry that you're interested in working in. It's also really a great way to give back. There are countless studies that say, many of us might be a little lonely, maybe we're struggling a little bit, and they say that the one thing, if you're down in the dumps a little bit or having a tough time, one of the best ways to get yourself back into a better spot and a good spot of well-being is actually volunteering. And a lot of that is because it takes us out of this mindset of just focusing on the areas where we need to improve, but reminds us of the ways that we can give back to others, and also gives us an idea of ways that other people might be needing our support. And so really, really great way to not only help yourself feel better, but also help contribute to your community. And then finally, another really great opportunity that comes along with volunteering is just being able to get a sense of the organizational culture of the place that you might be interested in maybe working, or even in an industry that you might be transitioning into. And what I mean by that is maybe I know I volunteered with different organizations and I've realized, like maybe the values that they have, or the way that they treat their volunteers or their employees, maybe it doesn't align with exactly what I'm looking for. And so it helps me kind of understand if that's the direction that I want to take my career. And so a really great opportunity there for you to gain experience, network, also feel a little bit better about life, if you will, and then also get a sense of that organizational culture. And then, I think one of these really important things with experiential learning is understanding, is this the opportunity that's right for you? Because there are so many different opportunities that are available. And so it's really great if you want to explore different career fields. I know we saw in the chat that sometimes you feel like you have to select a degree before you really know what it is that you want. And this is a really great way, kind of low risk, to get a sense of what it is that you want. Because you can even volunteer just once and get a sense, okay, I really am interested in working in the marketing industry or whatever it might be. So it's a great way if you're looking to build your network. This is a wonderful way to do that. Another nice thing with volunteering is that typically they're going to ask you what works best for your schedule. They realize they're asking for your time and efforts. And so usually they'll be able to provide opportunities that work with your schedule. Sometimes they do have upfront requirements about how much you might need to volunteer. And so if that's something that doesn't work for you, maybe go find another opportunity. It's really a great way for you to also make an impact, just to help with other people, that maybe need your support and your expertise. There's lower barriers to entry. What we mean by that is typically there's not going to be an application process or interview process. Usually you can just submit a form of interest and they might gather some more information about you. Sometimes, depending on the opportunity, they might have a background check. Typically, sometimes the organization may pay for that, or you might have to contribute a very small amount. And then finally, one thing to really consider is that these are unpaid opportunities. And so if that is not something that you're able to take advantage of, that financial piece is really important to consider. And McCall, I think I'll share my screen here just to show that one website. And so again, you can go to the CPD website and check out the experiences section to find different websites to go to. But I also wanted to share this Catch a Fire website here. Can you see that okay? Great. All right. What I love, there are so many different ways to find volunteer opportunities. There are a plethora of them. I would say, but this is a really cool opportunity because you can, if you want to volunteer for potentially a specific cause, let's say, for instance, I'm very interested in employment services, given our backgrounds in career services. And then let's say, for instance, I really want to learn about specific skills. Like I need to learn a little bit more about fundraising. I could learn something about web design. Actually, we'll just leave it at fundraising. And then type, I can kind of see the different opportunities. And so there's just a couple that came up on here. But you can start to see, even if you just go by skills, if that's what you want to focus on, Like, let's say, for instance, you're moving into an area that really requires data analysis and you don't have that background. Come in here, click on that skills, and you can see all different types of opportunities, board positions, general opportunities that you can take advantage of. I would also really encourage you, if I think particularly in the tech sector, I would say that, you can always reach out to different nonprofits in your community, whether that's school, churches, or just nonprofit organizations, and see, do they need help with their accounting? How can you contribute to those areas? Because a lot of times those small nonprofits, they do need support. A lot of those employees that are there are wearing multiple hats. And so to have just even a little bit of support so that you can help gain that experience and get that on your resume can be beneficial both for you as well as the nonprofit. All right, and then next we are going to hop into simulations. And so McCall chatted about this a little bit. So what is a simulation? Simulation is typically, it's an online experience that's going to simulate what it would actually be like in that real world environment. It's controlled in the sense that you can go through the simulation, and I'll walk you through one and put in different project requests or answers to challenges, whatever it might be. And if you make a mistake or you're not right, that's okay, because you're not actually directly impacting anyone. And so this is a really great way for you to help gain and utilize the current skill sets you have and help demonstrate it. It also can show, as we'll see, a commitment to a certain industry or company. And then also with Forge simulations, which we'll chat about, you can actually get certificates and different things that you can put on LinkedIn to show that you completed that simulation. And so one of the things that really you need to consider with simulations is this right for you? So it's great if you have a really specific skill set you want to develop. You're curious about just exploring different companies and roles, and you'd like to do it in your own time and also online. You don't have the ability, potentially, maybe you don't want to go to an on-site opportunity, or maybe you just don't have the flexibility in your schedule to do that. It's really great because there's no application required. It's super easy, as I'll show you through the Forge simulations. You just hop on and you can start a simulation literally within a few minutes. It's very low pressure in the sense that you can complete this at your own ease. If you want to do 20 minutes a day, that's certainly up to you. It is unpaid. And one thing I'll also note as well is that because of the online nature of this, and because it's in a controlled environment, you're not going to have a lot of opportunities to network. And so if you want to network, this may not be the experiential learning opportunity that's going to help you meet that goal. And so, as I've mentioned, WGU partners with Forge, and it's a really great company because they partner with so many different Fortune 500 companies. I believe it's over 125 employers. They have over 300 simulations on their website, and it is across so many industries, everything from banking to law to data analysis to marketing and everything in between. And the really great thing about this is that employers actually use students who have completed the Forge simulations as a way to recruit students. It is gosh, I'm having a hard time speaking, a talent pipeline for them. And so with this, they have found, and this is actually data that comes from the employers and not from Forge, that students who complete a Forge simulation are 3 times as likely to get an interview with that organization, and then 4 times as likely to get a job offer. And part of that is because you're demonstrating a willingness to learn more about that company. And so they're already showing your commitment, so they want to interview you. And then with getting that job offer, you can use some of that knowledge, whether it's about the systems or the organizational culture that you learned from that simulation. You can use that information within your interview, which is really great. And so I'm going to walk you through kind of what those simulations look like here. Let me share my screen quick. Can you see that there all right? Is it big enough? More or less? Yeah, okay, great. Let's see here. Okay, so this is, and I think McCall, thank you so much for dropping this into the chat. You can go to the WGU Forge website. And like I said, there are so many different opportunities that you can look up. You can look at it from career interests. You can also look at it if you want to look for a specific company. And they do update these regularly. And that means both that some of the simulations are removed and some simulations are added. So, always be sure to check back. And so I think for this one, let's choose city, let's choose finance. which probably isn't the best one for me to choose because I don't know a lot about finance, but that's all right. Maybe this is a great opportunity for me to see if this is a fit that I want and if I want to work for Citi. Um, and so they give you a little bit more information. You know, it's self-paced. It's 5 to 6 hours. There's not going to be grades or assessments. It's more or less just you completing the job simulation, and it walks you through just the basics. And it also gives you, there's going to be 4 different tasks here, and the number of time or the amount of time that you're going to spend per task, which can help you kind of understand, all right, how much time do I have to commit to this? This sounds like a great, it's got 2,700 5-star reviews. I'm so excited to do this simulation. All right, so you can hop in here and you can learn a little bit more just about Citi from them directly, which is really, really awesome. And it's going to give you an overview of each task that you're going to do, what you're going to learn, as well as what you're going to do. So this one, I'm going to read through the information provided by financial planning and analysis business teams. I'm also going to create a short slide deck summarizing movements and key performance indicators for senior management. And so with this, you're really demonstrating a pretty incredible skill set, right? The ability to synthesize, if I could speak, information, looking at data and analyzing that, being able to create a slide deck that's intriguing and keeps communicating that information well. So lots of things that you're demonstrating here and ways that you can build those skills. And so then you can walk through the different tasks and you can see all the different things that are required for each of them to get a sense of whether or not this is a simulation for you. And so really encourage you, make sure, take a look at this. This is a really great opportunity for students that are really short on time, want to gain experience, and it's a great thing that you can add into your LinkedIn. And like I said, there's some huge benefits there as well on the recruitment front.
And Addison, correct me if I'm wrong, but it tells you at the end, it gives you information about how to include that information on your resume, correct?
Yes. And also
Okay.
on the internship and experiential learning guide, there's also a page that walks everyone through on every single different type of experiential learning, how you would add that to your resume. And so great call out. Absolutely. And it's a really great way just to demonstrate your interest and get a little experience as well. And they don't assess you on, like I said, there's going to be no grading or anything like that. But the employer does receive a list of students that have completed these. And sometimes you can actually also sign up for their job alerts as well if you've decided that you're interested in that company or that industry.
I thank you for sharing that, Addison. I think that's a super popular option for a lot of our students here at WGU because it's very flexible, as Addison pointed out. And if you want to learn more about that or you just want a deeper dive, I dropped a link in the chat to a former workshop that goes into more detail about forage. So feel free to check that out. It's just a little over 30 minutes long.
Yeah, that was a great session. Forage actually joined us and gave us a really quick, more in-depth overview than what we showed you today. So thank you for including that, McCall. All right, we are going to shift gears here a little bit and move from forage simulations to apprenticeships. And so I'm sure many of you might be familiar with apprenticeships, but they are training basically for a specific trade or profession. And the intention behind apprenticeships is that it's usually typically between 1 to 6 years, and it's going to lead to a full-time role. So you're really training or being an apprentice to help you move into a specific full-time position with that company so that you have all of the skills that are required so that you can do well in that area. I think a lot of times people think about apprenticeships and they think, oh, that's welding, electricians, plumbing, whatever it might be. But within just the last few years, this is really growing in popularity. This is a model that's really, really popular over in Europe, and we're starting to pick it up more over here. And so we're starting to see a lot of apprenticeships in tech. And so if you go to the internship and experiential learning guide, you'll see different websites that you can go to. One of the biggest is going to be apprenticeships.gov, and you can actually go on that website and you can search for different industries. And there are so many. I mean, especially in the tech realm, I mean, Microsoft, Google, Apple, all of them have apprenticeship programs. And so this is really great. If I guess we could go to the next slide. I was thinking about the benefits here, jumping ahead of myself. Is this right for you? I think that it's really, really important that you are pretty certain this is the path you want to take. Because like I said, you're typically making a commitment, not only to the industry, but to that company that you are going to complete your apprenticeship and then move into a position with that company. And so if you know that you're really interested in, let's say, cybersecurity, and there's a cybersecurity apprenticeship, just know that you really are making a commitment. It could be 1 to 6 years. Typically, they're on the lower side, between usually 1 and 3, kind of depending. But a really great way to get the experience and gain just great expertise for a specific career role. And so it's really a great way to gain career confidence. They're almost always paid. You're going to grow your network just within that specific industry, which is a really great way for, job referrals and finding mentors and expanding your network as a whole. This is also recognized as a professional experience. So it counts towards, on that job description where it says number of years required, this would certainly meet those requirements. And as we mentioned, this will transition typically into a full-time role. So definitely kind of a new thing to look at. So as I mentioned before, there's lots of different industries where you can apprentice: agricultural, construction, education, energy, financial services, healthcare, hospitality, manufacturing, tech, and transportation. And so if you have any interest in any of those industries, I really encourage you, apprenticeships.gov. It's a great wealth of information, and those are going to be legitimate apprenticeship opportunities. And check back often, because I know that they do add those. And then finally, we're going to chat through study abroad. And so this is probably one of those, probably the least common experiential learning opportunity, particularly if you're an online institution. But what is studying abroad? Studying abroad is basically studying whatever your major might be, academic university overseas. And so this was actually something that really influenced my own career and what I ended up ultimately doing. And so it was just a truly incredible experience. McCall, I know that you did this as well when you're undergrad.
Yes. Yeah. It's an opportunity that you can take advantage of, or that works for you. I always highly recommend doing it. I think there's a lot of benefit to it for your career development, but also just for your personal development as well. I think I built a lot of soft skills when I was traveling to different areas, meeting different kinds of people. And so that's a piece of it too, is just growing professionally and personally.
Yeah, exactly. And so like that's, I think, one of the hugest benefits is that, you're really tested. How do you you're in the middle of a country where you don't speak the language, and how do you problem solve to get out of, how do I figure out where I'm going, and all of those different things. And so it's just a different level of building those skills, which are really, really essential for your overall career success. And so in terms of other benefits, if you're looking to learn a specific language, this is a great way, because then you are absolutely forced to do it. It's also going to improve your intercultural competency, so your ability to work well and communicate with people from other cultures, because that is absolutely an impact. You can also gain academic credit specific to your major, and then as we've talked about, there's a lot of soft skill development as well. And so if you are curious about finding study abroad opportunities, there's a lot of different places to look. I think one thing I would say is just, if this is a path you want to take, you really want to make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure that if you find an opportunity, that you're doing your research and making sure it's a legitimate opportunity. So goabroad.com and educations.com, gooverseas.com, these are 3 search engines. Great way to look for different programs that might help you meet your needs. You can filter by country, by major, whatever it might be. You can also direct enroll with the company. So let's say, for instance, I would love to go to Ireland, and I decide that I want to go to the University of Dublin. I can actually directly enroll with that university, just like how you directly enrolled here at WGU. But you do need to be aware that you're going to have to find your own housing. You're going to have to understand what visa requirements are there, and all the other things that are going to be required for you to move to another country, because you are doing that on your own. If doing this on your own doesn't sound like your cup of tea, there also are third-party providers. So this is like alphabet soup, but you've got CIEE, ISA, AIFS, IES, CEA, EF. There are so many of them. These are very legitimate companies. They've been around for a long time. I actually previously worked for one of those, but they can help you in it. And typically what you do is you pay a fee, and they help you with all of the things that are required. So that's making sure that your credits are going to transfer back. They'll help you with in-country support, with orientations, finding housing, all of those types of things. And so great opportunity if you need a little bit some more support, but you probably will pay a little bit more for that opportunity.
And just a heads up that we keep dropping the internship and experiential learning guide link in the chat, and you'll find all of the study abroad links within that guide. So if you're seeing a lot of websites pop up on our slides, you will find those in that guide. So just know that you don't have to go searching for them because they'll be right there for you.
Thank you. Yes, that's great. So for those of you that say, oh, study abroad would be great, but I have 2 dogs at home, a family, full-time job, that is not going to be an opportunity I can take. There's also virtual study abroad. And this is something that really came because of the pandemic. And during that time, a lot of people were not able to travel. And so virtual study abroad is basically this idea where you can study abroad online. You usually take a class with an international instructor. And then at the end of that opportunity, you have an option. It's not required, but you can travel abroad to that country. And typically there's an option to complete an internship. And they help set that up for you because typically this is through one of those third-party providers that's going to provide that extra level of support. And so there is a fee that is associated with this, there is no doubt, because there's a lot of coordinating and things like that. In terms of the benefits, though, this is going to be substantially less expensive than traditional study abroad. You also still get that international experience, intercultural exposure, meeting people from other countries, and that's also going to help with your soft skill development. So in communicating, conflict resolution, all those different types of things that happen when we work with people from other cultures. And then if you're thinking, well, maybe this is something I'm interested in, is this right for me? It's great for you to gain professional experience. If you have any interest in working overseas, this is a great way to demonstrate that skill set so that you can be successful and hopefully move your name to the top of the pile. You're going to develop those soft skills. You also can practice or acquire any of those language skills as well. So if you want to practice your Spanish or your French or your Italian, typically in those courses you would take, they're going to be all in the other language. And so a great way for you to practice. You also get to participate remotely. You don't have to uproot your life and move to another country, though I think that that's absolutely fabulous if you can do that. But you can do it right in the comfort of your own home while still getting that international experience and making those international connections as well. Maybe you'll have a friend to go visit in Ireland, right?
Okay, thank you for sharing all those different EL types, Addison. I think virtual study abroad has always been the most intriguing to me. So that's always, I'm always curious to learn more about that. So thanks for diving into that for us. And we wanted to hear from you all now. I know that we've been chatting at you a lot, sending a lot of links in the chat. So which opportunity that you heard about today, or maybe there's a different type that you have heard of in the past, but which are you most interested in exploring? So is it apprenticeships, simulations, maybe study abroad piqued your interest? Maybe you're more interested in looking into internships or micro internships more, which I know we didn't dive into today, but we have a lot of resources around that as well. But which opportunity do you think is going to be the most beneficial to you, and are you most interested in looking into further? And feel free to pop that in the chat. Excuse me. I see some folks have been sharing their LinkedIn as well, and this is always a great opportunity to start building your network. I think these workshops aren't necessarily something that people typically think about as a place to build your network, but it's a great place to start connecting with your peers and just getting to know more people. And so always feel free to drop your LinkedIn URL in the chat if you're comfortable. Gabriel said simulations. So those forage simulations that Addison walked us through, and then volunteering and internship opportunities. Once solidifying what I would like to do, I'm doing a career change. That's great. We have a lot of career changers at WGU who might be moving from one industry to another, one career type to another. And these experience learning opportunities are a great way to build that experience to help bulk up your resume. Felicia said, never heard of micro internships. I'll definitely be looking into those. We can provide links to Parker Dewey so that you can learn more about micro internships too, Felicia. I'm interested in internships mainly, already started applying, curious about age assumptions. Is it going to be weird for employers that I'm 47? I feel like internships are assumed to be for early career folks. That's a question that comes up a lot. And Addison, feel free to chime in here too. But something we always share with people is that when you are maybe a more non-traditional job seeker, you have a lot to bring to the table that maybe early career folks don't have experience in yet. So Addison's brought up soft skills a lot, transferable skills. People who have had early career experience, they're able to bring their lived experience to the job or the internship. They're able to speak to the ability maybe to work with different kinds of people, teamwork, just some of those kind of general soft skills that somebody who doesn't have any work experience yet might not have been exposed to. And so you can absolutely leverage that skill set in your resume when you're applying, in your interviews, and that can be advantageous to being able to talk through how your previous work experience or your transferable skills are going to help you in an internship setting. Anything you would add to that, Addison?
I think that concern is completely valid, and I think a lot of students feel that way. But exactly what McCall said, like you have a lot of the skills and experience already that employers want. And in fact, when I've spoken with WGU students who are not 18 to 22 and maybe further along in their career, they have found that they've had definitely that imposter syndrome, and especially, oh, do I need to be an early career riser? And that is not the case. Employers really appreciate the value you bring, and oftentimes you can end up being a mentor to those younger interns. And I think that there's also, I would be so curious to know if there's any data about, about 60% of students transition into a full-time role after an internship. And I wonder, for students that are further along in their career, is that higher? Because, they potentially have more to offer. And so please don't let that hinder you. We have students across all age ranges that are participating. And truly, most students, I think almost 75% of students are actually considered, quote, non-traditional, where they fall outside of that 18 to 22-year-old bucket. And so it's not as uncommon as you might think to participate in an internship as you're a little further along in your career.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing that point up because it is always something that comes up in discussion when we talk about internships. So we appreciate you sharing that. Some folks are saying simulations with Forage. It's been difficult finding remote internships with many tech companies moving back into the office. Yes, remote internships and remote work has been really competitive lately. So Forage is a great place to really, like Addison had mentioned, define some specific skills that you might want to build some expertise or experience in and use those Forage simulations to your advantage to start doing that. I think we got through everybody, but yeah, it looks like simulations are very popular, which is super common. So if you have more questions about those, feel free to pop them in the chat. And again, we will be sharing these links with you all after the workshop. And thank you for your engagement. It's always wonderful when people are dropping things in the chat. Sometimes something comes up for one person that applies to another. And so we really appreciate you and all your thoughts and your questions. Okay, so we're just going to go through another milestone resource here very quickly. So you've completed your experiential learning. Maybe you've done a Forge simulation. Maybe you volunteered for a nonprofit. But now what are you going to do with those skills that you've built, with maybe those network connections that you've established? And so we have this one-page career growth toolkit that provides you with some next steps that you can take after completing experiential learning, regardless of what kind of experiential learning you've done. So it'll provide you with resources related to reflecting on what you've learned, updating your resume and LinkedIn to make sure that you're including those skills that you gained in your experiential learning, that experience that you may have gained relevant to your career goal. And then there's an entire section there too about how to nurture your network. So as Addison had pointed out, almost every single experiential learning type is going to help you build your network, of course, with some of those exceptions, like she had said with Forage, maybe not quite as much, but a lot of experiential learning types are going to help you build your network. And it's really important to maintain those relationships. So now that you've established them, this guide is going to help you take some steps to make sure that you are maintaining those relationships so that you can really leverage them when it comes time for your job search. And that's going to make all the difference for you because networking is a huge step forward. It can help you get your foot in the door in various opportunities, especially in a really competitive market. And so use this toolkit after you complete your experiential learning so that you can take those next steps and make sure that you are moving forward and bringing all of the assets that you gained from your experiential learning. And then we just wanted to draw attention and thank you, Addison, for dropping some of these links in the chat. We wanted to draw attention to 2 resources here, one of which is the Internship and Experiential Learning Guide. We brought that up a lot during this workshop. It's an amazing, thorough resource that's going to walk you through all the information that you would want to know about each experiential learning type. So if you want to learn more about volunteering, you can hop into that guide that Addison's dropped into the chat and go to that section, and you can see where would you apply for volunteer opportunities, what are the benefits. It just goes into a deeper dive than what we've even done here today. And then, as Addison mentioned earlier, toward the end of that guide, there's a bunch of information about how you would include experiential learning on your resume, which is super important to take a look at because we want to make sure that you are integrating your EL as much as you can in your resume to make sure that that is going to stand out for you. And then the other resource that we have is this experiential learning comparison tool. So this is useful to complete if you just want to go through the different kinds of experiential learning and start checking off what some of the advantages are and what's going to make the most sense for you. So this comparison tool helps you compare all of the different types of EL that we discussed today, as well as some that might be embedded in your academic program. And so you can go through and look at what are the advantages, what are some of the considerations, check off what those are, and then in the end, after completing this tool, you'd be able to see which ones stand out and which ones are going to be best for you. And so Addison dropped a link to that in the chat as well, but I would definitely encourage checking that out if you're feeling still kind of uncertain about what might make sense for you, and just go through and start seeing what are the advantages, what are some of the maybe disadvantages or considerations, and which one's going to really align with what you need. And those are all on our website as well, and you'll find them on the experiential learning page. And those are all of the resources that we wanted to share today, all the information. And so with all of that, I know that many of you said that you were interested in simulations, maybe checking out micro internships or internships. But after this session, what is one next step that you are going to take for yourself to start making some movement on your experiential learning journey? Are you going to maybe open up that guide and look at some of the different opportunities in greater detail? Maybe you're going to dive into the Forage platform and just start looking at what's out there. But what is one next step that you'll kind of commit to doing to move forward with your experiential learning? All of the above. Fantastic. Gabrielle is motivated, and I love that.
It's the best answer.
It is. One of the reasons we ask this too is that a lot of research shows that when you share your goals with other people, you're a lot more likely to follow through with them. And so it can be helpful to just kind of, for accountability reasons too, just kind of throw some ideas out there, and you might get some ideas from other people too. Going to look through Catch a Fire and Forage to add options to my EL journey. I didn't know about either of those. That's awesome. More interest in Forage and micro internships. Looking into local nonprofits to see what volunteer opportunities they have. Love that. Looking through Forage more regularly. Yep, checking to see if maybe anything's been added that might be relevant to your career goal. And that is wonderful. Thank you all for sharing those next steps with us. And with that, are there any questions for us? Thank you for your engagement today. Again, we really appreciate it. Are there any lingering questions that you all have? Anything that you all wanted to talk about in more detail? Feel free to throw those in the chat.
McCall, we did get one question.
Yeah.
Which countries did we study abroad to?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you want to go first, Addison?
You go.
Okay. So I studied abroad in Europe, a long list of countries, actually. The program isn't around anymore, but it was called the International Traveling Classroom, ITC, more acronyms for everybody. But we traveled to 11 different countries in Europe, and most of that was independent travel. So it was a very unique experience. I love it. I wish that I could do it again. I would do it in a heartbeat. But yeah, it was pretty incredible. I studied psychology, so it was really interesting going to all these different countries and learning more. I mean, we toured historical mental hospitals, all sorts of different museums related to psychology. And so it was really cool to learn about the history of psychology and madness in Europe while we were visiting all of these places. So being immersed in that was pretty amazing.
That's great. Yeah. It's interesting. Prior to studying abroad, I thought travel was for the birds. And I just woke up one morning and decided, I should probably go see the ocean. And I ended up in Australia for about 6 months. And then when I was in my grad program, I went to Guatemala for about 2 months and I taught a course on intercultural competency there. And so both truly incredible experiences. I certainly don't think I'd be here today with all of you had they not happened. And so, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Sarah was wondering, Addison, sorry if this has
Mhm.
been mentioned before, can you please explain what a fellowship is?
Great question, Sarah. I'm going to see if I can pull up this website here. And there is information in the internship and experiential learning guide if you want to learn more. But a fellowship is typically a research opportunity. Most of the time, so if you're interested in research at any level, it's a great opportunity for you because that is literally all you're doing. You are researching a specific topic. Typically, they're going to be at the graduate level. I think is everything in life competitive, but they are going to be competitive because usually there's like a stipend or sometimes like there's a grant that's associated with it. But I know that we've got that the website. There's a great website for this that's listed on the guide there. Let me see if I can pull that up and share it. But great. So if you any interest in research, I would definitely be sure to check this out. And I'll grab that here if we have other questions that are coming in the meantime.
Awesome. Thank you, Addison.
Yeah.
We do have a question. I'm nearing the end of my graduate program. I'm a little nervous that my opportunities for internships will not be as available after I graduate. Should I worry about this?
It depends. It depends. I do think that it's probably easier for students that are active to get internships because there are some internships that are only for students that are active in a bachelor's or master's program. However, there are also internship opportunities that are available for recent graduates. And so I would say, start searching now, start to kind of get some of those opportunities. I'm not sure when you're graduating, but can you start to get some of those applications in now because technically you are still an active student. See if we can maybe find some of those opportunities for you. McCall, anything to add on that?
Yeah, that's what I would say too. I think a good majority of them that we see in Handshake are going to be current students, but there are some companies that do hire recent grads. But yeah, same advice as Addison is I would just start checking out internships, check out micro internships too. I know we keep saying that things are competitive. Micro internships are one of those things, but that might be worth looking into as well. It's more short term.
Yes, and the micro internships, 10 to 40 hours, they're typically remote, they are paid. I shared a video earlier that we had Parker Dewey come to visit, and Parker Dewey is the one that hosts those micro internship opportunities. If you have any remote interest in micro internships, please watch that video in its entirety because it will help make sure that you actually have a really strong application so that you're more likely to land a micro internship instead of just continuing to apply over and over and over again. I'm just pulling up those. I've got one more website to pull up and then on the fellowships front.
Perfect. And so, some folks are asking to make sure that we share those links in the follow-up email, and we definitely will. Perfect. Addison just dropped those fellowship links in the chat. Well, if there are more questions, please feel free. We will stick around here for a couple more minutes if there are more questions. If not, thank you so much for attending. We, again, really appreciate your engagement. Thank you all for being here. If you would be so kind, we have a follow-up survey that we would love to hear your thoughts. We're always looking for ways to make improvements. So you can scan this QR code. We'll also have a link to it in the follow-up email, but please complete the survey if you have any time to do so. It's just a couple minutes long and it really helps us make those improvements. If you need to contact us for any reason, feel free to do so. Check out our website. Our YouTube channel has all of our recordings from workshops, or you can email us at careers@wgu.edu. But thank you all so much again and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Appreciate you joining. We'll see you soon.